Okay, welcome back. In this video we're going to look at bit manipulation, and this will make it a lot easier to do common operations to our variables in binary. And the three main operations that we're going to look at are set, clear, and toggle. So you can see these up here, and you can see them in their generic forms. Okay. What setting means is given, so let's say I've got some number in binary stored in a variable. Setting means that I want to choose one of these bits and I want to make it a 1. So I set it to a 1. Clearing means that I want to take one of these bits and turn it into a 0. So I clear the bit. So for example, this one here, I can clear it. Now, with setting and clearing, if I try and set a bit that's already 1, it won't do much, okay? It's already 1, so it just sets it back to a 1. With clearing, if I try and clear a bit that's 0, it just sets it to 0, so it doesn't do much. However, toggle is basically, I choose a bit, okay, so let's say this end bit here. If it's a 0, it turns it into a 1. If it's a 1, so let's say this one here, it will turn it into a 0. Okay, so it makes a 1 to a 0 and a 0 to a 1. Clear makes everything to a 0, no matter what it is. So 0 to a 0 and 1 to a 0. And set will change a 0 into a 1, and it will just leave the 1 alone. Alright, the next thing that we need to know is how we choose which bit we're talking about. So with our bits, we call this bottom bit the least significant bit, and this is bit 0. We then count up, so bit 1, bit 2, bit 3, bit 4, bit 5, bit 6, bit 7. Okay, so with our bits, we go from right to left and we start at 0. Okay, so bit 0 is this bottom bit here. So with our operations, you'll see that there's two things we need to change. We can change the variable and we can change the bit. Okay, so if I want to change which variable I'm changing, which variable I'm setting, then I change the variable, and if I want to change the bit, I change the bit that I want to set. A big mistake that a lot of students make when first doing this is they change this 1. Okay, this 1 always needs to be a 1 to do this set operation. Same with the clear, this always has to be a 1, and same with the toggle, this always has to be a 1. So if you're changing that, you're doing something wrong. Okay, so just leave those alone. The only thing you should be changing is the variable and the bit. The variable and the bit. Okay, the 1 stays as it is. So here we've got a couple of examples. As you can see, the 1 is always a 1. Okay, we don't change that. We've got a variable a. We could have different variables if we wanted, but we've only got 1 here, so we've got 1 variable. Now the value stored in a is currently 1110000, and we remember that our bit numbers start from 0 and go to the left. Okay. Now obviously if you had a short, you'd just keep counting up. If you had an int, you'd just keep counting up further. Okay, but because we're using an unsigned car, we've only got 8 bits, which gives us 0 to 7. So in this first one, I'm saying I want to take A and I want to set bit 2. Okay, so I'm setting bit 2. That tells me which bit, this tells me which variable. Here it's also storing the result. Okay, so be aware of that. We've got a compound statement here. Okay, as I said, you don't need to completely understand this, you just need to know that it's setting right now. Be good activity for you to try and work this out yourself and see what it's doing based on the previous video, but as long as you understand that it's setting bit 2, that's the important thing. So we're on this line currently and we set bit 2. So we go to bit 2 and we change it to a 1. So our variable a is now this. We then get to this next line and we set bit 5. So we go to bit 5, it's already a 1, so we don't change anything. Okay? The operation still happens, the computer doesn't know that it's a 1, it will still try and put a 1 there, but it doesn't change anything. The next thing here, we've got our clear. Okay? And once again, it's a compound statement, meaning that we are setting a. Okay, so we are changing a. So it's using this version of a, the last time it was used, not the original a. Okay, because we've changed it and it's currently this. So here we're clearing a. Once again, you don't need to understand all this to use it. It'd be good to understand it as an exercise for yourself, but we just need to know the a and the 6 are the two things that change. This is our variable and this is the bit we want to clear. So we're clearing bit 6, so we go to bit 6 and we clear that. So we get a 0 there. On the next line, we're going to clear bit 0. Okay, you can see that there's a 0 there. It's because we start at 0. So we're clearing bit 0, it's already a 0, so it stays a 0. The next lot, toggling. So we're going to toggle bit 1 of our variable a. So we can go to bit 1 and we toggle it. Because it's a 0, it becomes a 1. In the next one, we are going to toggle bit 7. So we go to bit 7, it's a 1, so it becomes a 0. Alright, there's one little bit more, one thing more with bit manipulation, and this is testing a bit. So we can put a test inside of an if statement to check if a bit is a 1, and this will check if it's a 1. Now, what it will return is if the bit's a 1, it will return a 1, and if the bit's a 0, it will return a 0. Okay? And remembering that 1 is true and 0 is false, and this is basically testing if the bit is 1. So in this example here, we've got a variable b with this value in it, and for testing, we take our variable and the bit we want to test. Once again, this 1 doesn't change. So b and 1 shifted 5 places is just saying we want to test is bit 5 a 1. And so remembering that we start at 0, we go across and it is a 1. And so we print this message. Now, if I want to check if it's a 0, because I know it returns a 0 if it's a 0, I can say something like this, or I could use the not operator. But for us, we can just use this here. It'll make it a bit easier for you to understand. So here, we're testing if bit 2 is set, and then comparing it with 0, which say it's clear. So we check bit 2, and we get a 0. So that would tell us that bit 2 is clear. So if we want to test a bit, we can do it like this. If you want to check if it's set or if it's a 1, you just write this directly in there. And if you want to check if it's a 0, you can just put this equals 0 in your if statement. Alright, that's it for this video. Enjoy.